MMA scraps is why most shows tap out then cry. We the ones like 'em now at the end of the bout with our hands to the.
Can you tell us a little bit about that fight? I remember watching it, and it was definitely a struggle for you. It wasn't even the same fight you thought you were initially going to have, but you stepped up big. You really showed the UFC you're serious about it. But tell us about that fight, man. What kind of went down there?
Fitch was, he's considered, one of the best in the world for a reason. He's probably the best in the world at, getting the takedown, nullifying people's guards, and kind of just keeping the pressure and the pace going. So I guess they don't, stall it for a stand up. But I don't believe that at any point in time I was ever in danger of getting rocked or hurt or injured. He's just phenomenal at unfortunately winning decisions.
Now here's a question, and I've always wanted to ask this to someone coming off a loss. If you could go back in time and talk to yourself, and you would tell yourself, hey, you're actually going to lose this fight because he's going to fit you, would you tell yourself to still take the fight?
Hell yeah, I would tell myself to shut the hell up. I don't believe you, and thanks for trying to help. But if you really want to help, just tell me what he did in the exact way it happens, and guess what? I'm going to change time.
Space-time continuum. It's like the hot tub time machine. Can you tell us when you heard that you were going to be fighting Dennis Hallman, what went through your mind? Because that's an unusual name. I mean, it wasn't until very recently that Dennis was even back in the UFC, and now all of a sudden you're getting a chance to face someone who at one point was a legend killer. What do you think about this fight?
No, man, it was actually an honor, man. Like you said, I know exactly who Dennis Hallman is, and he's a veteran and somewhat of a legend in the sport, right up there with Jeremy Horn, man. They're going toe to toe for who has the most fights in their career, and he definitely is. He's got the fight experience as far as number of fights over me, but at the end of the day, I don't believe that's necessarily going to matter for those who look at John Jones. For instance, the man only has like 12 fights in his career at this point, and I'm looking to make a name for myself the exact same. Experience might be on his side, but at the end of the day, all those caliber fighters that he might have racked up those wins against weren't UFC level fighters.
Now, did you get to see the fight against his last fight in the UFC against Doomsday Howard?
I did. That was actually, I was really impressed with how he was able to control Howard, but it probably wasn't the most exciting for the fans.
Right, but I guess in a lot of ways that's something that you would probably want to look at, knowing that you look at Howard. He's a kind of an interesting striker, a very phenomenal fighter, very exciting when he's standing, which is I think kind of similar to you. You definitely have a longer reach, but it would seem to me, just looking at those fights, that's probably the same game plan he would implement against you. What kind of things have you done to make sure that this isn't a Fitch 2.0?
Like I said, man, I actually heard an interview when he was on, I guess, MMA Insider, which is he basically admitted in the interview that his plan is to try to implement the same game plan that Fitch did on me, and I believe that he is a little bit more what's the word? He might go for submissions a little bit more than Fitch would.
Sure.
Just because he is a really good submission artist. But at the end of the day, when that's your mentality, is to go in there and try to hopefully eke out a lay and pray decision against someone like me. I know the fans definitely don't want to see that, so they're probably definitely on my side as far as keeping it standing and knocking them out. I've been working on my game a lot, man. I've been working on my takedown defense. If he gets me down, I've been working on my jiu-jitsu game. I've been working on getting back up. And above all, I've been working on many ways to knock him out. And, I think this is really, really a horrible, horrible style matchup for him. And, we'll just see who implements whose game plan the most.
So, let's talk about that. Now that you're back in the UFC, do you feel like you have a greater appreciation of being in the UFC, or do you think it's about the same as you enjoyed the first time around?
No, I definitely am going back into the UFC with my eyes wide open and definitely understand how things work and what's expected of me as a fighter. So I know what's on the line, every time you step in the octagon, and know what I need to do to prepare for that. So I definitely see things differently this second time around, and I think that'll show in how I'm fighting this second time around as well.
Again, last week or so, you found out that your opponent had changed. Can you kind of tell us how you were informed of that? Because in the days now of the internet and MMA, we're finding that the fighters are usually the last to find out. How did you find out about that?
Yeah, that's kind of my story as well. I actually slept in real late the day I found out that the fight was changed. So I woke up to look at my phone, and I had literally about a dozen text messages from my friends and different media outlets, asking me for quotes or comments on my opponent change. So I literally rolled out of bed, looked at that, kind of shook the cobwebs out of my head, and I'm like, I better give Monty a call and see what's up. I hope it's not true.
Right.
Because the first thing that went through my head is I wouldn't even have a fight, and you put 2 months into training and all the expenses that go along with training, and that I was really worried that they hadn't found another opponent. But as soon as I called Monty, he verified there was another opponent, and it was just a matter of signing the bout agreement to make it official. So that was definitely a relief to know that all my training wasn't for nothing.
Well, let's talk about your other opponent. What do you know about this first-timer in the UFC?
Well, from what I understand, he's got a ton of experience fighting. I saw online an unofficial record of 22-1-1. I think by anybody's standards, that's a heck of a record to be carrying around. From other things I've heard online, and of course this is all online stuff. I can't really verify any of it. There's talk of him being a brown belt in jiu-jitsu and having a good Muay Thai pedigree. So, on paper it looks like a real tough opponent. And then, of course, just the fact that he took the fight on short notice, I kind of know the thought process that a fighter needs to go through, because I've done that myself several times. So I kind of think I know what this guy's bringing, and I think I know the attitude he's going to have in the octagon when we get in there. So I'm expecting a rumble. I think this guy's going to be tough and come out trying to prove something. Is
there any sort of kind of letdown feeling about going from a Thiago Silva to a Todd Brown? In the UFC, there's no easy fights, but we're going from really a name in the organization to someone that is making his debut.